I welcome you to this second session where we are looking at agricultural industrialization and expansive commercialization. And my name is Wilbur Sebuyongo Chivekayunga. I'm the CEO of the Action Entrepreneurs, and I also work with Nkumba University. I'm a lecturer at Nkumba University, but have ventured widely in agriculture here in Uganda. Now, we were demonstrating what we call extensive agriculture and intensive agriculture. Taking an example of this coffee farm is seated on 50 acres of land, and 50 acres of land requires the farmer to have actually a larger land coverage and an investment in land to acquire that land and be able to grow that coffee and be able to manage it. It is actually an extensive system. However, what you're seeing here, that is a garden of tomatoes grown vertically, which we are calling intensive system, where you're using a small piece of land to actually be able to grow larger volumes of crops or animals, or rearing larger numbers of animals. Like you're seeing here, this other farm is a farm that is seated on very many acres, and this is an 80-acre farm that is segmented, and that there are paddocks in there. That is extensive agriculture. But then this goat farm you're seeing here is a goat farm that actually you'll see that the goats, the infrastructure is like you're utilizing the space above the space system, so that instead of going horizontal, you are also looking at a vertical establishment where you're putting floors to take care of the goats as well, or it could also be used as a replica for animals. So to go industrial, in going industrial, you only need to first begin with a manufacturing plant. Taking an example of rice here, the manufacturing plant, the manufacturing plan is what produces a manufacturing plant. So many people first look at finances required to run an industry or an industrial establishment other than a plan. So even without finances, you can have a plan, and without finances but with a plan, you can actually get the finances using the plan. So it is very important to establish the plan first without the fears of where the finances are going to come from. We may even choose to start a micro plan or a micro production unit, and afterwards expand the production unit, other than getting scared of starting. So as entrepreneurs in agriculture and industrialists in agriculture, I will empower you to establish a manufacturing plant for agricultural outputs. So here you're seeing that you need to have raw materials and defining where the raw materials are going to come from. And usually when you are establishing the plant, then possibly you need to set up the standards of the raw materials that you need. What's the moisture content, and then what specifications do you give to those who are going to supply you with raw materials in case you're not producing them from your own farm. Then that will draw you to have stores, or you could have a store or set up silos to store these raw materials that are coming from either farmers, or those are outgrowers, and also raw materials that are coming from your own farm. So there you can now go ahead. If this was rice, you're getting rice that is actually pre-processed, and that is dry and with husks. So then you have to be exposing it to the manufacturing or the manufacturing process, which will have to purify it and make sure you have the machines and the workforce. So here you need the machines and the workforce to facilitate the manufacturing process. And usually you look at the standards. The manufacturing standards have got to be clear, and therefore the workforce must have it, and also the machinery you're employing or you're using have got to facilitate achieving the industrial standards that you need. You also need to know what we call ratios, production ratios, where you need to know that if you introduce rice, 100 kilograms of rice, that is the input, and what is the outturn of 100 kilograms according to the quality of the rice that you need. So 100 kilograms of rice produce 70 kilograms of which grade of rice are you specifically looking at? You call it super or so. These ratios will transform what you call inputs in kilograms and then outturn in ratios with the uh, focusing on how much volume can you get as an outturn, so that the manufacturing process is defined. Then the cost of production, you also need to know it. But here we shall see that you need to package your material with a brand, and you need a packaging machine if you're packaging at large scale. But if you're still micro, you can go manual. But still there you need to have a packaging workforce and also packaging machine. Then you need to have a store for finished goods installed in your manufacturing plant or manufacturing workplace. Then you need to have some customers reached out with the finished product, and then so you have to do the marketing and the selling, and there you need a vehicle. In case you don't have, then you can rely on hiring one, or or actually purchasing if you can. Then from there we see that all these requires some financial input that comes from a finance plan or a budget of what you actually require. However, to facilitate production, you need to have what we call production enablers. And these production enablers are those you need land, which we have seen. You need buildings, because you're not going to produce in space. And then you also need to look at electricity, and usually in production electricity, we we establish ourselves in a place where we can actually manufacture using reliable electricity and alternative energy sources in case of power outages. But I've had a friend of mine who established uh, a production factory somewhere, and had not looked at electricity requirements, the capacity of electricity, and later on, to just to advise him later on when he sought for advice, we realized that he's positioning the plant in a place where there is a two-phase electricity, yet you need three-phase if the capacity of your machines is high. So you have to look for three-phase electricity, and also making sure that you have commercial electricity. Commercial electricity in our country here in Uganda, we look at commercial power other than using domestic power to run your industry. So commercial power is understood as shoulder. We have shoulder, have peak and off-peak power, which varies by rates depending on the time. We also need to look at water resources. Agriculture relies more on water, which is very key. Then we also need to have our road access, security and insurance of our equipment, and then their security, And then we are also looking at making sure that we later on were able to make finances, and we are able to generate finances, and after we have done the sales. So these enabling services, or the enablers, are very key to have them. But then we can have this scale at a micro level where you can do production at your home and actually expand it to production for the unit of a community, and also be able to expand it beyond the district, or beyond the towns where you are located. And you can also extend what you have been able to market within the country to get suppliers outside the country, and that will enable you to export and expand on production. So I would like to thank you for hosting me. I would like to thank the African women in spices and the hubs for holding this training. I'm Wilbur Sebuyungo Chivekayunga, and I thank you for everyone in the African countries. And I'm seeing members from Ghana, Nigeria, South Africa. I can see members here from Tanzania, members from Kenya, our fellow members in Uganda, members in Rwanda. I thank you, members from Zimbabwe, members from the Central African Republic, members from Angola. I will thank members from uh, okay, I'm seeing here, yes, okay, my friend from Niger, Robert, thank you for joining up here. I would like to thank the members who have labored to to finance this training, and also making sure that there is dissemination of information. I work with Nkumba University as a lecturer in entrepreneurship, and I also majored in planning and management of enterprises, and also making sure that we educate the communities. I am also involved in manufacturing, and mainly in manufacturing I do directing and planning. But I've also moved to countries to make sure that we industrialize and expand on agricultural output. My name is Wilbur Sebuyungo Chivekayunga. I thank Madam Adedeji of Nigeria mob- mm, for mobilizing the community, and the managing director of the African Women in Spices, and all the members who have labored to mobilize each other for this event. I would like to close it here and wait for questions and answer. Thank you.